Retro, your new host, along with my co host here in the Twilight Tower. And would you like to introduce yourself, good
Yes,
sir?
sir. Yes, sir. Brock Redhead here. Call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late for dinner. Um, my vision, my vision for this podcast is going to be something of sort of a think of if you're working the late night shift going into the morning and you're just relaxed and all you gotta do is just sit in the tower and make sure nothing gets messed up. Cup of coffee, fire roaring. Um, yeah, that's about it, sir. I'm always gonna have a cup of coffee for every podcast too. Might I add you? What about you?
So for me, my goal with this podcast is to provide kind of a relaxing, calming, listening podcast,
Hmm.
maybe even somewhat of a talk show, because that's technically what this is.
Yes.
And it'll be for those who are coincidentally enough in the twilight hour, as we are right
Hmm.
now, from the Twilight Tower. And for those of you wanting to know, we are recording in a Firewatch tower.
Yes,
As
sir.
the description says, we're recording in an old Firewatch tower that we've kind of scouted out, and we happened to find it was available, and no one's using it. We're okay,
Yep.
and we'll happen to have some good times here. We'll have good conversation, and this will be definitely something that I hope everybody likes listening to. Everyone has a good time listening to, and if you happen to relate to it in some way,
Yep.
find a special connection somehow, that's even better. For me, I will usually either have water or I will have a coffee as well.
Yep.
Because, in all honesty, for those of you who work in like late evenings or early mornings when it's not even daytime out, it looks like it's nighttime. Coffee is the life essence, I would say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Um, so for this podcast, we will be going over the general idea of what you can expect from both of us, and kind of the areas that we'll be deeping, like diving into at least, and checking and reading about, talking about, discussing. And for that, for our pilot this episode, it's just going to be us as your hosts, what the podcast is, and kind of branch off from there. Really, there's no scripts, as you could probably guess. We have some paper, but it's not even really anything on it. We'll mainly just have it there for notes or
Yep.
any interesting points we'd like to make. Um, so I'd say what you guys can truly expect is a huge variety of topics. We'll be going over some modern news, uh, nothing too specific in that regard. Uh, like we'll look up stuff from video games to new trends to some economic stuff, mainly like how the course of it is going from now on, like, i.e., NFTs, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and that whole spectrum of where it is, um, to the paranormal, to cryptids, to you know conspiracy theories,
Hmm.
all of that. And one topic that we both agreed on that we will kind of stray away from is politics,
Yep.
because honestly, that you know everyone can relate to politics, but it usually gets pretty nasty. I've never come across a conversation where politics has come up and it has ended well.
No.
I would say.
No.
What about you, Brock?
Um. No, I'm also, from what you guys are going to get from me, is I'm a man with basic education. So I'm not one to throw my hat into any conversation when it comes to political or economical. I'm leave all, if any of that is brought up, sir, I'm going to give you the opinion of a fifth grader. That's what you're going to get from me. So, like, you'll be like, "Oh, what do you think
Yeah,
about
that
Trump?" And
completely
I'm gonna be
fine.
like, he's a poopy head." And you're gonna be like, "Ah, gotcha." Um, but no. So, I want us to, with everything that Retro just said, I want us to also be a platform where if someone's going through something, needs life advice, um, from what you're going to get from me is I have life experience, which you're going to learn throughout the podcast. Retro knows everything about me along with my wife. So if you guys post any questions that you want, we're going to help you. And if we don't know the answers, we're going to give you the answer. We're going to look up and give you the answer. Um, but yeah, so whatever you guys
Yeah,
want us to
and
cover,
one
yeah,
benefit,
go on.
like benefit of the podcast and the platform we are currently on, which is Anchor, and we will hopefully be sponsored soon,
Hmm.
where we will be able to get voice messages from you guys. We can get voice recordings from you guys that either ask a question or heck, you guys could even recommend topics for an episode, and we'll get all that set up. And your question may even make it onto the podcast
Hmm.
as well because we want to include you guys as an audience. We want to include you guys if we're able to. And if not, you'll have us talking about a topic, for the whole, you know, hour or so that will be on, and we will happily do whatever we can
Hmm.
to provide you good entertainment, easy listening, and something that you can hopefully relate to.
Yeah. So then,
So,
um,
a little bit about me.
yep, yep.
A little bit about me. I am a 24-year-old. I'm going to be going on 25 in the summer, and I I have some life experience, some of which may or may not make it onto the podcast due to the fact that I am I'm somewhat of an open book,
Yep.
but there are some things I would like to keep more personal because everyone has the right to privacy. Um, but I am one of the people that works late and odd hours of the day, from personal experience, where I will be either up at like 2 in the morning getting ready for work, or even as late as almost midnight getting into work and starting my day. So I can hopefully relate to some of you out there doing almost 60-hour work weeks and all that overtime.
Hmm. Um, so I am. So we're gonna go back and forth with everything, so that way he doesn't list a whole bunch of stuff, and then I'm doing the same thing. So we're gonna bounce back and forth. What he says, I'm gonna copy him and do what I do. So I am a 32-year-old married man. Been with my wife for 8 years. Met her in 2014. I have.
Congrats.
Thank you, thank you. Um, Actually, we are celebrating 8 years next month in March.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, 8 years in March.
Nice.
Yep. Retro stayed with us for a week early this year. He got to meet the wife.
I did.
You did. It was amazing. Spent the week with us. He made sure my wife was taken care of. I made sure that he abided by the rules, because she worked and I had the week off. When she came home, she got her drinks first. She spent time with me and Retro, and we got to know him more. Um, but yeah, aside from that, I am a night custodian, so I am not one that has a lot of life experience. I have more life experience than Retro, unfortunately. I will say unfortunately, because when it does come out with everything, then you guys will learn about it. Retro knows
Right.
all about me, so he understands. But yeah, so I will switch to the next section of questions that you will copy. Um,
Okay.
I am a high school graduate, um, gone through many jobs until finally landing on my job I have now. I'm a man that, when it comes to my days off, jammies, movies, and I want to take this podcast and turn it into a career. And yeah, all of this will be, we're also recording it separately. All this will be on my YouTube channel. But yeah, what's your educational level looking like, sir?
Well, I am a high school graduate, um, and I've had some college experience. Didn't fully graduate from college,
Mm-hmm.
but got enough years to realize, wow, college debt really
Mm-hmm.
sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I want to work, so I won't have debt, and I can hopefully get a good start. So I went to a trade school for a little less than a year, and I learned a trade in CAD drafting. And for those of you that do not know what that is, it is computer aided design, and it's essentially I can make blueprints for things like almost anything. I can make a blueprint for. Um, I could be an architect if I really wanted to go in that direction. I could be, making schematics for, mechanics to follow and whatnot. I could work with a 3D printer. I could make designs. Um, but from from when COVID hit, it really damaged a lot
Mm-hmm.
of that industry because people like me were in such confined spaces on desks all day where it was like, well, since we're all in close proximity, it's not good for COVID, and all the market kind of went downhill from there. And so I went towards a backup job and I went into security. That was a kind of a start to a career path I dreamed of as a kid. Where honestly, as a young kid, I'm curious to ask Brock, what kind of career did you dream of as a kid?
Um, so when I was a young lad, living in the country, um, I wanted to, little me, I wanted to become a Power Ranger when I was younger. I was the only one in my elementary school that said something like that. Others, cop, fireman, the ballerina, pro athlete. Little old Brock was like, nope, Power Ranger. That's what I want to be. Um, but
You want
then
to be
when
Jason David Frank.
yeah, um, but then realistically, like you, I went into a trade school, and I ran through everything. Um, Quarter of the year,
And
I was in criminal justice. A quarter of the year, I went into carpentry. Um, for a quarter of the year as well, I went into cos cosmetology because to me that looked easy. Let me tell you, it's not.
I would
Um,
imagine not.
until I
But
finally
one thing I
settled
would.
on culinary, and I finished up my 4 years in culinary. And yeah,
Ah,
yep,
culinary.
yep.
Culinary is actually quite fun. That reminds me in high school, for some of those that may or may not be in high school physically right now,
Hmm.
but if you do get the chance to, I highly recommend. if there is a culinary course,
Yep.
take it.
Yes.
You will learn to not starve in college.
Mm-hmm.
You will learn to make actual food.
Yes.
You will not survive solely off of ramen cups. And you know, like you'll not make ramen chips or just, you know, Dorito chips or any kind of like junk food really. You'll learn how to actually make some good food, and that is a class I have not regretted taking
Correct.
to this day, where I can make some pretty darn good food. Um, well, I could say good fucking food,
Mm-hmm.
considering this is also, for those of you who know, this is going to be a bit of an explicit podcast. We will have, we'll swear, we'll talk about adult subjects like drugs, alcohol, and, whatever else happens to be the topic. But just so you're aware, it is listening at your own risk if you are, 18 and up,
Mm-hmm.
because this is going to be explicit.
Yep.
But I recommend culinary. If you are in high school and you have the opportunity to take that course, I highly recommend it.
Yep.
And on another note, talking about trade schools, for those of you who do not know, college is not the only option.
Correct.
I know a lot of teachers, and I don't know if you've had this, but a lot of teachers where I went to high school said, you got to go to college, you got to go to college. And there was no real mention of trade school.
Correct.
It's like they just wanted you to go to college. But trade school is an option. It is indeed an option. Where if you don't feel like you're ready for college, you can go to a trade school in your area, and they'll have a catalog of how many, different subjects are, and some of them actually pay pretty well. I know when I started my trade in CAD drafting, they had me starting off at almost $22 an hour,
Wow.
and it pays pretty well depending on like what career path you choose through trade school. And like there's so many different options. Like there's nursing programs, there's mechanic programs, there's computer programs, and there's a lot of like multimedia technician kind of positions. There's a lot of subjects for you to learn at trade school, where some of them you will learn within less than a year, and you can get certified and you can get a job right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
That way you can start making money, which would be good for, when you get a car, or if you want to move out of your parents' place, or you're in a really crappy place and you want to move somewhere else, it'll definitely help you out. So just to let you guys know, college isn't the only option. I will
Correct.
say that. It took me a little while to try and figure out what exactly I want to do. But I would say, if you really don't know, check out a trade school. Check them out. See what they got in store. They could actually really help you out.
Mm-hmm.
And, you could be better off at that point doing that. And sometimes, even depending on the trade school, you can get college credit. They will give you credits as if you were in school, because it is a course you are learning. But also, kind of backtracking to dream jobs.
Mm-hmm.
When I was but a wee lad in kindergarten, first grade esque, where they would, ask, "Oh, what do you want to be?" I immediately went cop. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be a cop,
Yep.
and I I then let that mature a little bit, let it sit in my head, and think, well, what specifically? Sure, there's just a cop. There's also sheriff's department. There's, forensic. There's homicide, and all these other aspects. And I really sat down and went, you know what? I really want to go towards like homicide detective, or just a straight up detective within, the police industry.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always thought a detective is a great, great job, you know, where you can get put on like lead investigations. Sometimes there's a homicide, sometimes there's, hit and run, sometimes there's drugs involved, and I always liked problem solving. That's kind of what has led to that desire of a job, where I liked puzzles, I liked problem solving. Like I don't know if you ever did, but when I was a kid, I liked doing jigsaws. I liked doing the little mini puzzles you can get at. I think they now have them in stores or like arts and craft stores where it's like these little magnetic puzzles or metal puzzles where you have to solve this to break it apart and then put it back together again and
Mm-hmm.
things like that where you tried to solve it. You tried to figure out how it worked. And I also like Legos because that helped show how everything went together, and once it was together, how it all worked.
See,
And
that's where our viewers are gonna see me and you may be the best of friends, but we lived different lives. Where you were doing
yes,
puzzles, I was into poetry. I was writing poems and everything. Where you were doing Legos, I was doing Lincoln Logs.
I had Lincoln Logs.
Oh,
Don't
okay,
don't get
okay,
me wrong. I
okay,
had
okay.
I had Lincoln Logs when I was 3 years old. I had Lincoln Logs. I loved building log cabins.
Mm-hmm.
I liked trying to build a skyscraper out of Lincoln Logs, but it could never really work considering some of the pieces were just not cooperative
Mm-hmm.
at all. It was so limited with Lincoln Logs.
See, being a young kid born in Germany during the Desert Storm in '90, and then moving to Virginia and like being on the and then moving to a small town. Let me know in the comments if you guys know this little town. But Ovid, New York is where I grew up. Um, you walk our biggest store there was a McDonald's. That was our biggest store.
Wow.
We didn't have a Walmart. We didn't have nothing. We had an auto parts and McDonald's. Um,
Wow.
but like yeah, growing up in a small town like that really showed you that you didn't need expensive things. You didn't need all that. So I
Right.
really, I really hope that the viewers take away that we're not going to be people that have expensive equipment and like
No.
popular guests. We're two blue collar grown men who are just going to talk about anxiety, depression, drug use, and alcohol use, and all that stuff that a struggling person is probably going to relate to more than anything.
And, I would like to somewhat counteract your remark about popular people
Mm-hmm.
because who knows? I mean, like down the line, we could get popular enough where we
Yeah, we
could
could.
get
Yeah, we
some
could.
popular
We
guests.
could.
But that entirely depends on how we go with this podcast and how much support we get from you, the listeners,
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. We heck, for all we know, we could end up getting the famous podcaster Joe Rogan, or
Oh,
even end up on his.
that'd
That
be nice.
that that would be interesting, I would say. But
Mm-hmm.
I just popular figurehead in the podcast community as he is. I don't know how it would feel if I got invited.
Right.
I really don't know how I would feel.
Mm-hmm.
I because I do know his podcast can be a little bit controversial, but it's it's definitely, I would say, it would definitely be an honor to get invited to go and either be a part of his podcast or even have him be a part of us for an episode.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but definitely, like, we will try our best to relate to people because we have our own personal experiences like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And, we might not have the, the lap of luxury or the, you know, the all the equipment that other people have, but we're starting off with what we got, seeing how it goes, and we hope you come along with us on that incredible journey, how it is, and which I hope is a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
But we will see how that goes. Um, so I would say, what other subjects to talk about? We've talked about ourselves a little bit here and there.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about what people can expect. We've talked about, kind of career options. We've talked about dreams for work and what really kind of goes down into the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Um, let's see. I guess what we could do is, I feel like with every episode, we're going to share just a little bit about ourselves, so that way, if people from day one have been listening and they get really into us and they want to take notes on us and everything, they'll have at least one fact a day. And they're like, oh, hey, did you watch the newest thing of Twilight Tower? And they're like, nah, I missed it. What happened? Like, well, we learned today Brock does A, B, and C. And then they all are like, what? Um, so I feel like we got that out of the way.
Imagine we do. Imagine we do get to the point where people do actually get excited if they ever heard your name or
Hmm.
my name. Well, one thing I will say is, in I personally am using him
Hmm.
because I would like keep my regular name, private for now,
Right.
and potentially down the line I will either, bring up my name, or if not, I will just simply go by Retro. That
Yep.
way, y'all have a name to put to the voice, and I'm sure in one way or another, y'all will probably hear my voice somewhere, either out out there, and you may recognize it if we get that popular enough.
Oh my
That
God, that'd
is,
be
if we
so
get that
amazing.
popular, where you could recognize my voice, and you come up to either one of us, and they're like, "Are you guys from Twilight Tower? Are you guys from Twilight Tower?" Because I know that that's happened to some podcasters where they are that popular. Like,
Hmm.
there's some that are so popular by their voice alone. It's like being a voice actor, where they're recognized solely for their voice. Where if that happens to us, like I would honestly probably cry. I would probably cry or get like really excited, being like, "Wow, I what to do?" Like an idiot,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna say something stupid. I'm just gonna stare like, yeah, that's me. I don't know what you want me to say, but you know,
Yeah.
it's something that is something I would I wouldn't know heads or tails what to do
Yeah.
if that ever did happen.
Shit. Um, let's. I feel
Um,
like what we could
I would
do.
say for another subject,
Mm-hmm.
we could talk about ideas for guests. We are going to be having some of our own personal friends.
Yep.
Some of them are people that we've known for ages. Some of them are people that, at least to Brock, he's known for a short while, as long as he's known me,
Correct.
and we will be having them come on. They will either say their name or a nickname. Some of them will have their own platforms. Um, for the most part, some of them will be repeat guests, but also they will be people we play video games with. For
Yep.
those of you that are gamers, these are people that are in our little niche friend group of gamers that will hang out, play a bunch of stuff together, and even just figure out funny things together. Like, for example, this year, in to mirror what happened last year, Rock is coming over to the West Coast
Yep.
to experience everything sunny California has to offer, and the, be prepared. It is mostly heat.
Mm-hmm.
It is mostly heat. There's not really much rain. Uh, we're still in a drought, um, but the food is as variety, like has a wide variety. Like you'll experience a lot of different food. Some
Mm-hmm.
of it authentic, some of it just not so much. Um, Definitely a lot of cultural like mixtures and tastes, and a lot of different people too. A lot of different people. We aren't all just, you know, a bunch of celebrities, pop stars, and you know, uh, everybody that puts a stereotype to California. We are a wide variety of people, just like how New York is when it first started in its prime,
Mm-hmm.
where it's not just people from New York. There's people from all walks of life,
Correct.
and it's funny to know that you know me growing up in a small town of Camarillo in California. It's maybe about a good hour and a half from Los Angeles, and also a bit of maybe a good like half hour or so from quiet little area of Thousand Oaks and Sherman Oaks where celebrities kind of hide away from society, where there is a little bit of, I'd say, class diversity as well as cultural diversity,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll definitely see a little bit here and there of what is out here compared to New York, where you're out, I believe, suburbs,
Yes.
correct?
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, it's technically suburbs out in New York State,
Correct.
where you know, surprisingly enough, it isn't all cities. It isn't all skyscrapers, towers, and all these things. It's actually a nice, quiet, outdoorsy, almost kind of country-esque community,
Yeah.
from what I can tell when I was up there.
Yep.
Lots of grassland, lots of farmland, lots of swamp, but definitely the complete antithesis. God, that's a tongue twister of a word. To what New York City is,
Right.
where New York City is the concrete jungle. This looks more like an actual jungle.
Oh Jesus.
But definitely, for the Californians out here, yes, he will be having In-N-Out Burger. He has never had that. He's never heard of it.
Correct.
He's going to try it. That is definitely a must, because when in California, you got to try a good burger.
And hey, who knows? When me and the wife go out to see you guys, who knows? Maybe when we get closer to that date and we chat about it, maybe we will get approached like that. Like I want people to understand. I want you fans, viewers, you people to understand that me and Retro, like I said, we're blue collar workers. We're shy people. So if you come up and you say, "Oh my God, we know you guys," I'm gonna be like, "Oh shit, that's fucking amazing. Thank you so much." Like just come up to us.
Yeah,
I'm not expecting people to come up to us, but if that does happen, just for you guys to know, off the bat, we are approachable people.
yeah. Like if you do want, like if you do become a fan and a listener of the podcast, we would happily, have you come on up, say hello, maybe even talk a little bit, and even ask us questions in person,
Hmm.
where we can actually maybe even answer then, or even say, hey, I'll save that for notes and I'll bring it up in the
Hmm.
next podcast, where you know we could actually answer a very personal question, or if you want something answered specifically and don't want to be announced, hey, we get it. We completely understand that,
Yep.
and we will happily
Yep.
adhere to privacy and whatnot. Um, One thing too is we'll definitely have in the future, hopefully, some good sponsorships,
Yep.
some
Yep.
collaborations. Honestly, if we could get a good coffee sponsorship, oh,
Ooh.
that would be great. That would
Listen,
be great.
listen.
Um,
There's one
I don't know
coffee.
what brand would be good, but
There,
like I would love a good coffee like sponsorship.
I, I,
That would be
I,
great.
I'm gonna put this out there, and I don't know if you want to join in with it. But if you want to name a coffee that you use more than any, and a coffee that you want to try but you never have, so the coffee I use is Folgers. I love me some Folgers. I don't care what it is. Folgers me up, baby. And then the one I want to try is there's this military coffee. There's a
Mm.
military brand coffee because my family served in the military, brother, mother, father, and all that. But I'll
Mm.
have to let you guys know next episode because I'm gonna look it up. Actually, let me look it up now. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's so. What's your
and
go-to, and what's one coffee that you've always wanted to try?
um, one I definitely know that I've used quite often, most than none. Oddly enough, is also Folgers coffee, and I I know it is very affordable, and it's something that definitely is good for, if you need something right away. They make pretty darn good instant coffee. They make miniature like dark roast packets. This is a new one that I've tried from Folgers. Is these little mini, like they almost look like sticks, and you break it open and it has dark roast instant coffee, and pour it in a cup, add hot water, mix it up, and you got coffee. And you add cream, sugar, to whatever you like, and it works for me because of my routine and my schedule where I can actually have something ready right away, almost instantaneously, thankfully for instant coffee. And uh, although it is not sponsored in any way, if it is, if we end up getting a sponsorship from Folgers, I would be happy to accept that. That offer also goes out to other coffee brands. We will be happy to sponsor any of you that come with us to a good offer. Uh, but one that I wanted to try, I think is also a military brand. I could be wrong, but there's one. I think it's Black Rifle.
That is the coffee that I was talking about. So
That is okay,
Black
because I've
Rifle
seen
is
that
a
one.
veteran is a let me read it to you. So Black Rifle Coffee Company is a veteran owned company. So a veteran owns it.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yep. So yeah.
Yeah, that I've seen that. I've seen that everywhere, and
Yep.
I've been curious to try it and see how it is. Although I would love a good brand recommended by any
Yes.
mechanic
Yes.
or motorcycle enthusiast, because sometimes they have to stay up at late hours,
Oh
and
yeah.
they would definitely travel enough, I would think, to find a good coffee brand.
Hmm.
Honestly, same thing with the military. I'm sure they have a good brand
Oh yeah.
and a good flavorful coffee, because being in the military, you got to be focused.
But also,
Um,
but also, you gotta think too is with them constantly with the people in the military with them constantly drinking the same coffee, they need a coffee that doesn't get old and doesn't get their system used to it. So I would love to because like with energy drinks and all that, if you drink enough
right,
of it, your body gets used to it and it doesn't work the same. So whatever they drink, has to work like all the time.
right. So definitely, if Black Rifle wants to sponsor us in
Hmm.
some way, we'd be happy to figure that out. Um, we do have an email. We have an official email. If people would like to email us with any questions
Ooh.
or email us with any offers or anything, and if I am correct, that email should specifically be twilighttoddcast@gmail.com. That's TWILIGHTTOWER podcast@gmail.com.
Beautiful.
And we can happily answer questions through there. We'll read things off if you happen to send us any questions. And, if you want to contact us for a sponsorship or for any other individual purpose, we'd be happy to answer and respond to what you have.
Beautiful.
Um,
And it seems like the fire is getting pretty low right over here. So it seems like
yeah,
we got another 10 to 15 minutes left. So
yeah.
yeah, if we want
That's a
to
good
start,
slow burn.
yeah, 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 it's a very nice slow burn. So let's end the podcast with that vibe. How do you love to spend your winding down on your like how do you spend your winding down days after work, and how do you spend it on your days off?
Oh man, I have a couple of different ways. If I'm getting back from a 12-hour shift where
Hmm.
it's
Which you do a
3:30 in the
lot of the
morning
time. You
to
do that a
3:30
lot of the
p.m.,
fucking time.
I yeah, and I would say if I'm really feeling out of it, I usually try to take either a warm bath, like a hot bath. I will set
Ooh,
it to be very hot so
nice.
that way I can just like gently get into it and
Hmm.
it'll keep warm, but it'll cool down over time and it always feels so great. Although I do feel like a lobster getting in hot water for a brief moment. Or at least I look like one. I get bright red
Yep.
and then after that or a warm shower
Hmm.
where I can lay down, relax, or even just like soak in the water, let it run down my back, and I will get out, put on some comfy pajamas. I will lay out on bed. I will put on either some very like light music, nothing super, out there, nothing super crazy or amped, but something very light, relaxing, simple, maybe even acoustic music.
Hmm.
Um, or if I'm feeling like I want to try setting a tone, if I happen to dream while I'm asleep, I will put on ambient noise, like I will put on rain falling on a tent, or I will put on a campfire by the river,
Nice.
or something along those lines so that can just kind of ease away into a deep sleep while I recover.
Beautiful.
Days off wise, I would definitely, if I got the chance recently, I would definitely go take a out in nature, or depending on the mood, kind of taking care of things that need to get done
Hmm.
and having the rest of the day to do whatever I would want.
Nice.
What about you?
So as you know, sir, and which our viewers are going to find out, is that I'm really big into family. My wife comes first. My family comes first. So so I don't see my wife throughout the week. So when I get home, I'll usually just hop on my game and record. So throughout the week, that's really not big for me. But my weekends, so we're different when it comes to uh, stuff right after work. But when it comes to the weekends with the wife, I always make sure, when I'm relaxing, we're watching movies together in our jammies, my TMNT jammies. I love the turtles. Um, we're big into coffee. We're constantly drinking coffee together. Um, yeah, we're just big movie people. When it's nice out, we'll go out because my wife's big into the galaxy and everything. So we'll go out and she'll show me the Milky Way and all that, and we'll sit by the campfire. And throughout the summer, we go to our camper, which you're coming to check out when you guys stay with us again. We'll camp
Yep.
from May until I believe the end of August. We're big people. We love being outdoors, and
You know, I would think you could get your wife a telescope
yeah,
as a gift.
yeah.
That would actually, I think, would be a decent gift. Also, Mrs. Redhead, if you're listening, please forget I said any of that, so you can be surprised if he does get
Oh,
you a telescope. But that is something I know where at one point I had a friend who was like, "Oh, I want to go into astronomy. to,
hmm
look at stars. I want to read patterns. I want to check all that out. I don't want to be an astronaut, but I want to go into astronomy."
yeah.
And for a present, I got them not this super fancy telescope, but like a simple beginner, you know, telescope where
hmm
they could see all these like somewhat decent details. They loved it.
Hmm.
They absolutely loved it because it did show a lot more than what they could just see out of their eyes or what binoculars would show. And telescopes are magnified for that purpose.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you've been to our house and you have seen our backyard. It's big open space. Um,
right.
we love tents. We love camping. Like I said, growing up in the country, my fondest memory of camping when I was younger was my mom made a campfire and she took this. It blew my mind when I was younger. She took tinfoil. She took a banana. She kept it in its rind, its peel, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's peel.
Yeah, it's peel. It's peel. And she cut it. She put a little slit in the middle and she filled it with chocolate and marshmallows and nuts and everything. And she rolled it up and she put it on the fire. And that was the first time I ever had campfire banana split, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Just, just blue. So you guys are gonna find out me and Retro are very simple blue collar workers, and yeah, I mean, I feel, yeah, dude, I feel like this is gonna be something that we're gonna enjoy doing.
Definitely. All right. Well, I think from here we will leave you all your your easily listenings, to your activities, and whatever else you may be doing at this moment.
hmm
And we hope you have a great rest of whatever day you have going. And we hope to catch you all next time in the Twilight Tower podcast.
Yes, sir.